Don't work with me if you want to lose weight. Really, don't. I'm not telling you this in some kind of weird reverse psychology kind of way. I think you're smarter than that. However, I do tell you this to save the both of us a lot of time. How? Today I will share something that I usually tell my potential clients, something I've labeled my anti-sales pitch. In this, I briefly explain why it's better for us to not work together, and if for some magical reason you're hard-headed enough to think it's still a good idea, we both win. Why? You know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and I get a client who's ready to join a group of winners. Like them. Hi, my name is Roderick, and I help high performers lose weight smarter. So what does that mean? I experience that the weight loss game is rigged, and the way we approach it is inefficient at best. Therefore, I've developed a method that does things differently. But doing things differently might mean that it doesn't match your expectations. So let me underline what I do differently by telling you what I don't do. Well, first of all, I don't do short-term results. So if you really want results straight from the get-go, I really would advise you to look somewhere else. Moreover, in the beginning, I don't tell you exactly what to do. So no weekly PDFs with recipes, shopping lists, permitted snacks, all those things. Why, you might ask? Because that's exactly what everybody wants who comes to me. Well, yes and no. I've experienced that it creates a long-term dependency on me as a coach. And moreover, it always tends to be a little off based on your social situation, your work life, etc. So it's never really matching. Therefore, I don't do this. Also, don't expect me to stand next to you and shout, higher, faster, go for it, you can do it. That's not the role of a coach. That is the role of a trainer. They have a purpose, I was one myself. However, that's not the way I approach things in this program. I also don't want you to starve yourself to death to get results. Well, who does want that, right? Well, actually more people than you might think, because we've been grown accustomed to the idea that depressingly empty salads combined with crazy workout routines equal progress. Well, yes, you will lose weight fast, but in my experience, people also tell me that they regain all that weight even faster. I do things differently, but if that is your idea of progress, then you do need to look somewhere else. So I don't do any of these things. And some people might not even consider me cheap. So pretty bad deal, right? Well, that depends on your preferences. But let me tell you also what I do, so you can make that choice yourself. I've created the HPC weight loss model, and it contains 5 steps. I'll quickly walk you through them. The first step is to gather various data points on your mental and physical state. I do this through several highly targeted questionnaires and high-tech but optional blood work. Yes, this does take some extra time in the beginning, but it makes our approach much more effective and impactful for you. But it also saves us a lot of time because I'd be asking you those questions in one-on-one sessions anyway. Another important aspect of this step is that I want to make you an expert on nutrition and physiology. I've developed a method that supercharges your learning curve. And as a result, you'll be able to own the knowledge, and we can then communicate on equal levels about the matter instead of me just telling you what to do. Moreover, with this newfound knowledge, you'll be able to share it confidently with the ones you love, making it also part of my mission to make the world a little healthier. While we gather data and gain new knowledge, we'll start our weekly one-on-one coaching sessions. And let me be upfront with you. Most of the time, you are your own worst enemy. If you're not exactly sure where you're going, how you're gonna get there, and what you're gonna do about all of those obstacles that will come your way while you're trying to get there, it doesn't matter if I've developed the perfect weight loss method or use the latest science, it will fail. So first we talk. Usually somewhere during the middle of the coaching phase, where we prepare your mindset, we will start to prepare your body as well. Most people don't know anymore how to metabolize fat for energy. And in most diets, they jump straight to cutting calories. However, if you cannot access your own fat reserves for energy, what happens? There's a deficiency. So your body will naturally start to burn muscle or become very tired, unfocused, hungry, or maybe all of them. Not so great when you need to perform. I also believe that this is the cause of the dreaded yo-yo effect. I've developed a method that does things differently. Well, just don't take my word for it. We measure this. You and I can see this both in the data, as do all of my former clients. So when can we finally start to lose weight? Again, when the data shows your body is ready for it. So how would you know? Well, you can easily and cheaply measure this in the comfort of your own home. And as soon as you give me the green light, we get to work. This is also where I change roles. Before I was a coach, as I am not an expert on you. However, you also come to me for my expertise, knowledge and experience and the tools that I've developed to speed up the whole weight loss process, right? So what I will do now is I will gather a lot of data points, I will analyze that and give you recommendations on a weekly basis in reports to make sure that the progress is as fast, strong and healthy as possible. So at this point you might have a few questions like, how much weight will I lose or how long will it take? Well, let me say in general, my clients lose between 0.7 and 1.2 kilos per week in this phase. So you can do your own math on how long it would take you to reach your ideal weight. So another question you might have at this point is, what magical method or diet does this guy use? And in all honesty, I don't like to talk much about it in this video. Not because I'm hiding it, but, well, let me explain in 3 reasons. First of all, my method continuously changes and evolves based on new research and insights. So this video wouldn't age very well. Secondly, if you start Googling those individual aspects, they might look weird actually. However, I believe with the right knowledge, context, insights and the data-driven approach, combined with being guided by me, everything changes. I would consider seeing it as a dish. You might not like an ingredient, but if you have the right other ingredients prepared in the right way by the right chef, then magic happens. It's synergy. And lastly, everything is customized to you from the coaching phase as well as the data-driven phase afterwards. So me saying this is the exact method I use would not really make any sense at this point. So I hope you understand that. So after that, we move to the last step, which is the balance step. Here, we will reintroduce life, meaning pizza night, sushi all-you-can-eat dinners, or even ice cream with the kids. Yes, these things will happen. You will have the tool set that will allow you to make sure that they are done, your weight is in check, and you can move onwards. This is the maybe most important step in the whole process, because this is what ensures long-term results. So you made it so far without tuning out. Perhaps you might want to know a bit about me. I don't like to talk much about myself, but I do understand the question. Let me keep it very high level. I am educated as a coach, certified as a coach, specialized as a coach. I'm university educated and I've worked at the leading e-commerce and commerce companies in Europe in my past life. I'm saying these last 2 things because this allows me to extract data and translate that through models into actionable insights. And today this helps me a lot with my clients as well. Moreover, I have extensive sports experience. I was a semi-professional speed skater and also I've been in martial arts for over a decade. And this has shown me firsthand how ineffective exercise is for weight loss. Furthermore, my clients basically all tell me I am made for this. This is something that gets me out of bed in the morning and it shows. I love doing this, it's my passion and my clients understand this. Moreover, they are willing to pay me for it. I've seen that there's a demand and that they keep referring others. Together, this brings me to something called Ikigai in Japanese, which is right at the center of all of those things. I believe I found mine and I couldn't be more excited. Perhaps this gives you some context about me as a person. So let's talk some practicalities, right? How much do you charge? Well, let me tell you how most coaches do this. On their website, there's a button that says free consultation call. You book it, you listen to their story for 1 hour and they tell you why they charge what they charge. I don't really buy into that system. I just put my prices on the website. That's it. Go and look them up. The only side effect is that I cannot then properly explain why I charge what I charge. So let me take this opportunity right here to explain. The first phase is the more expensive phase. That is because it's a one-on-one coaching phase where we will have long discussions. And while we have that, I'll deep dive through your data, both qualitative and quantitatively. This is a very intense phase for you, but also for me. And this is also where I believe my added value shines. Therefore, I charge more. So it doesn't take much time to jump to the next phase. This next phase is much cheaper. And the reason is that I can do data analysis in my own time. For me, it's more easy to plan, and therefore I don't charge as much. There's even more steps below that, but I'll not get into that. Please check my website for that. So how long does the whole program take? Let's cut it up in two pieces again. The first phase, the more complicated and more expensive phase, usually takes between 1 to 3 months. The next phase then usually takes between 2 to 4 months. Both depend on not only the amount of weight you want to lose, but also on where your mindset is. So if you have a lot of deep-rooted habits that you want to change, and you find it difficult to change, it might take a bit more time. However, if you are fast, you can just push through them quicker. So this is a rough guideline, and I've seen many clients who are within 6 months, 20 plus kilos lighter. So what risk is there for you? None. Why? Because I believe in customer satisfaction. And to me, customer satisfaction doesn't match with being tied into a contract. So the second you don't feel comfortable, we shake hands and you go your own way. So how do we communicate? The short answer is everything is going to be online. I made sure I have a proper setup. Good camera, good sound, good lighting. And yes, this will increase the quality of our meetings, and it might not replace a real meeting. However, real meetings require traveling, sometimes it's not even physically possible, and it's more difficult to plan. So my method of choice is online. Moreover, I have an online calendar where you can easily plan something that fits your busy schedule. And lastly, all the other tools that I use are all done digitally, saving you and me a lot of time. So what's next? Nothing. Really? If this didn't sound like a hell yes to you, I would encourage you to look elsewhere, really. However, there are also two other options. The first being, this sounded interesting. Interesting enough to plan a short strategy call where we can figure out if there is a match based on your specific situation, but also for you to get to know me a bit better. The other option is this sounded like a hell yeah. In that case, what are you waiting for? Smash that strategy call button, plan a meeting, and take your health to the next level.